Another day here at the Trade of Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales. How's everybody doing? Today's podcast, once again, presented by Dutchie. Another day closer. Hopefully we get an announcement soon. Haven't heard anything lately from what we actually seen on Monday. So I know everybody's probably wondering, what are we hearing? What are we seeing? But ball is in obviously the Trump administration's court. So your guess is as good as mine as far as any announcement coming soon. But all signs point that we could see something positive. So hopefully that is indeed the case. Today's show, we're going to talk about 32 attorneys general signed a petition. They too are increasing, the voice to get cannabis, not only reform, but banking passed. So it seems like these excuses of having banking and reform are starting to shrink. So that is a good thing. As well as some interesting news. Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, is doubling down on adult use in PA, what that might mean for the adult use landscape and the budget process as we head into the back end. Q4 right around the corner here in 2025. So can you believe it? Summer's just about over, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because cannabis, as we know, always is pretty hot come Q4. So with that, let's welcome in AV here on a Wednesday. Good to see you. And I know you've probably been asked a lot of questions, myself included, but we sit and we wait.
What's it?
What's that song, Tom Petty? The waiting game's the hardest part.
That predates me.
Predates you. Am I showing my age?
Tom
Petty was a legend, though.
That definitely predates me. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is at this point. I mean, I think there's a lot of rumors buzzing around. I think there's a lot of hype running around. I think a lot of people are waiting for acting, thinking it's going to happen before the holiday weekend, thinking it's going to happen after the holiday weekend. I mean, it's completely up in the air.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's pretty much all we can comment right now. But you and I again here on a Wednesday, and we're doing these solos this week. But a lot of people, I think, taking some time off is heading into the summer, but that's okay. Reached out to Christian Agermeyer from Atai Life Sciences. He's going to come on actually next Monday or potentially Tuesday or early next week. I shouldn't say Tuesday, Wednesday, but a lot moving. And I want to get his take on the rescheduling potentially of psilocybin in the U.S. But good time, of life in general regarding the cannabis and psychedelic space, if we can actually get some reform. But be curious to see. We missed that actually on Monday, which was the AbbVie announcement with that acquisition. That was huge, obviously, in the psychedelic space. But it's in a tie. Man, oh man. I was trading what last I checked, it was over $5. So what a run.
Ty's had a pretty good week. Cybin's had a pretty good week since I bought it. It's up, what it finished? It's up around 10% today since I bought it. A tie is at 457. So, I mean, it's retraced a little bit since the news. But I mean, AbbVie bought, I forget how to pronounce it, but a major therapeutic from Gilgamesh, which was a private psychedelics firm. For $1.2 billion. The rest of the human capital, as well as the rest of the therapeutics that they're working on, have been spun out into a new co that I think will be Gilgamesh Pharmaceuticals.
Gotcha.
So I mean, it's a big acquisition. I mean, it's not a big acquisition in terms of size compared to what Pharma usually does. 1.2 billion is a drop in the bucket. I mean, I've seen Pharma spend 4, 5, 6 billion.
I know.
and shelf things. So I mean, 1.2 billion is great, but however, the split is TBD on how it's going to be. So the dollar size is 1.2 billion, but there's a little bit of ambiguity on what Gilgamesh actually retains in the deal.
Yeah, what was the number? I remember it's like over $100 billion when you thought of the market cap of the company that produced Prozac, massive. But yeah, these pharma companies are 4 to 5 billion, like you said, and shelf stuff like that. That's something you see common in the big pharma space. That's a drop in the bucket for some of these companies.
Very much so.
Yeah. All right. Lots to get into here today. And we'll start with what's titled 32 AGs. And what do I mean by that? We'll start in Washington this week. 32 state attorneys general signed onto a letter calling for Congress to finally pass marijuana banking reform. So the message gets louder and louder. So this is not just Democrats. It's a real mix of red and blue states, which is encouraging, which shows how broad the issue continues to become. So the point was pretty simple. As long as cannabis businesses are locked out of the banking system, they're stuck operating in cash. At least most of them are, which means more robberies, crime, and even regulators collecting tax money sometimes they can't deposit. So when you've got top law enforcement officials from across the country all agreeing that this needs to happen, do you think this moves the needle in any kind of way? Because it's telling that, again, there's 32 attorneys general involved in this petition.
I mean, it's meaningful. Trump has said that he believes that cannabis companies should be banked.
Yep.
They're stretching the truth a little bit too far because cannabis companies are currently using banks. It's not the wild, wild west like it was 10 or 12 years ago, where they're taking armored trucks to the town hall and paying their taxes. Cannabis companies can use, to an extent, are using financial institutions and banks to house their cash. However, there's still unfair banking practices that go against cannabis companies. I mean, cannabis companies need to be legitimized. I think this is great. This is a great letter to see. I mean, cannabis companies aren't asking for a handout. They're not asking to be preferentially treated. They're simply asking to not be seen as criminals in the eyes of the feds anymore. I mean, the cannabis industry, it's a $30 billion industry with 500,000 employees. It just wants to be able to use banks, have its employees get a mortgage, have its employees have certain benefits that other employees of other businesses are privy to. Not be seen in the eyes of the feds as criminals. I don't think that's too much to ask. I mean, the government sure loves to take the tax dollars. I mean, if cannabis was truly a Schedule I narcotic and the cannabis industry at large was criminals, I would think that it would be in the best interest of the government to shut it down. They haven't done that. They've let it grow. They've let it flourish. We've gone coast to coast now in terms of legalization and adult use markets. I mean, there's adult use markets in most of the major states, with the exception of Florida and a few others. Cannabis is here. It's not going anywhere. I mean, it just needs to be legitimized. It's time that's happened.
Agreed. Another piece in this letter here is the transparency. As you said, even if Safer passes, banks will still need to file suspicious activity reports and follow anti-money laundering rules. So this isn't a free pass, right? So if anything, I think there's a few critics saying too that letting cannabis into the banking system is just a backdoor way of normalizing legalization. Do they have a point in any way here?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, cannabis companies, if they're truly able to leverage financial institutions and that whole thing is off, I mean, you are putting them into the system. I mean, you're saying that it's a legitimized business. You're not necessarily legalizing it, but you're saying that in the eyes of the feds and in the eyes of the financial institutions, these are legitimate companies, just like any other company that wants to transact in this country and pay taxes.
Yeah. Well, money side too. States are saying they're losing out on revenue, which we're obviously fully aware of. Outline that because cash businesses in some cases are harder to track and tax, they're estimating billions of dollars in lost tax revenue. And I think it's important to say too that these are attorney generals from big states: Missouri, PA, California, Michigan. There's a long list. So granted, any kind of position when it comes to an attorney general is a powerful position. But when you have states of this size with large economies, I think that's telling. And hopefully, you got to look at it, and I don't want to speculate, but here we are. If there is reform announced, it's good to have these conversations that are having and taking place right now to potentially set the stage and what could be some incremental steps. Because as we've said time and time again, rescheduling is the first step if it is announced. But the biggest issue right now is obviously what we're talking about here, which is banking.
Yeah, the more pressure, the better. I mean, there's letters being written to the executive branch and the powers that be from the opposition. I mean, it's good to see a letter of this magnitude that makes sense. I mean, that reinforces the notion that these companies need to be banked and need to be legitimized. The pressure needs to not stop. It's got to be constant, just reiterating, like, this is what needs to be done. This is what's in the best interest of the people. This is what we want to see done. And this is a very powerful tool that we got, especially to combat the uptick in negative media that we've seen from Sam and the opposition.
Yeah, here's something to really pay attention to in this as well, is that it's receiving bipartisan support. And I don't think you can overlook that, because when you factor in cannabis reform, banking receiving bipartisan support along with public safety, and let's face it, a stronger tax argument, it appears that these excuses that we've seen time and time again over the last number of years for stalling, these excuses are shrinking, and more people are starting to get educated more on what the industry is, what they have to endure time and time again, from tax codes to not being able to write off expenses. It's a real wake-up call to say, at the end of the day, if 80% of Americans want to see some form of reform, why would we not implement this and generate the tax revenue? Because there's a lot of states right now that need the money.
Correct.
So
there's a lot of reasons to do this. There's really not a lot of reasons not to.
Yeah.
Reform the industry. I mean, there's people that believe that cannabis causes severe mental issues.
Yeah.
There's people that believe that you legalize cannabis and society is going to descend into madness. There's people that just believe just bullshit that they make up in their heads. That's just generational views that aren't rooted in fact. There's really no reason not to legalize and fully deschedule cannabis.
Yeah.
There really is not. Granted, I do align with the people that don't want to smell the shit in public. I don't want to smell it in public.
Agreed.
If I'm walking my daughter, or if my daughter and I are at a restaurant or a cafe or at a sporting event, I don't want someone blowing a vape down my way. I don't want to smell a joint when I'm on the street. Like, if we want cannabis to be legalized, it's got to come with a certain notion of you need to respect everybody's privacy and respect everybody's imminent domain. I mean, you shouldn't be smoking in public, especially if there's potentially children around and people that don't want to smell it.
Yeah,
I don't think that that's a very hard thing. I don't think it's as big of a problem as the opposition says. But I mean, I'll be the first one to admit, like, you walk around New York City, you walk around Chicago, like, you smell weed. You do. I mean, when we were in Chicago for Benzinga, I walked that Miracle Mile 3-4 times. There were people smoking joints. There were people smoking joints every time that I was walking up and down that thing.
Saw it firsthand last Friday. I went to the Tigers game, and as the game ended, there was a couple guys with some Miller Lights. They tried to exit the stadium. They said, "You can't finish the beer here." They had to throw it in the garbage. They walk across the street. They headed to the bar afterwards. But as I'm walking across the street, there's a group of 10 people with like 3 or 4 blunts, and the whole area smells. And I'm like, there's a prime example as to where we are in society right now, the difference between alcohol and cannabis. You can't just drink on a street, but you can if you enter into the bar right there. And that's why there needs to be.
And people shouldn't expect to have the liberty to smoke anywhere that they want.
Yeah.
Like, that's never gonna, that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Society's never going to accept that. Society's going to accept that we're going to be able to have adult use cannabis. You can buy adult use cannabis freely in these markets as much as you want, but smoking it in public is never going to be accepted.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it should be. And I mean, people that want to fight that point, like, get lost. Like, you're not living in reality.
One of her comments here was that I smoke what I want.
Good for you, tough guy.
I'm not saying you can smoke whatever you want. That's totally up to you, but there's a time and place for it. That's all we're saying. And if you want to do it from your home and that sort of thing, or let's say there's cannabis lounges that continue to pop up across the country, go for it. But that's part of the regulation that needs to be required. One thing can ask too, and I think we've talked about this before in the past. If we ever do get safer banking passed in the future, how long do you think big banks will take to jump in? Do you think they come in right away?
Come in a lending capacity? Probably not. They're going to have to sit back and wait. Yeah. I think I don't really have an opinion there. I think it's going to be, time will tell. I think there's going to be some that probably open up the doors right away that are smart, that want the first mover advantage. There's others that'll probably tiptoe. But the fact is banks and financial institutions and credit card companies will not act until there is law put into place. They won't act on a memo. They won't act on anything that can be retroactively overturned, because once they do allow them in, they don't want to have to reverse what they've done. Safer banking or banking laws getting put in place gives them cover to start to open up the doors. Yeah, I know some people have reached out that a lot of the underwriting that's going to take place and some of these companies that are already in this space thinking that they'll go obsolete. That's not the case at all. Most banks will actually lean to these companies, knowing the experience that they have of underwriting for quite some years. Chicago Atlantic, a few others. I know Rob Seacrest from Polaris. We've had those conversations on in the past. We got to reach out to him. It's been a while since we actually touched base with Rob, but I know they had a lot of their hands full with State House, but onwards and upwards from what I'm continuing to hear and see as to what he's working on. So we'll make sure we keep him posted and have him on again, because I know he was a great guest that was talking a lot about Washington. A lot of people, a lot of you appreciate it. So we'll make sure to reach out. And David, that's great. I think smoking lounges should be a thing. Cannabis consumption lounges should be just as prevalent as bars. Yeah. I mean, cannabis consumption lounges, I think, are going to be a big thing. They should be a thing. You want to go to a consumption lounge and smoke and do whatever the hell you want. It's fine. But like at a Dolphin game or like at a Panthers game, there was a tennis player from the US Open that was complaining that the court smelled like cannabis from people that were vaping. Maybe he's just being overly sensitive. Maybe there was some guy that just happened to be in the front row that was smoking a pen. But It's like time and place.
Yeah.
There's no reason to be doing it there.
Speaking of tennis, I had a double look on the weekend. Venus Williams participated in the U.S. Open. Did you see that? 45 years old. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that she was still playing. Dark Knight Kush writes, you sound like Hillary Clinton talking about weed laws. What's your recommendation? Let me hear your feedback. We'll leave it
Most
at that.
people just probably want to smoke everywhere. And I mean, cigarettes aren't allowed in certain places.
Yeah.
There's smoking areas for cigarettes. Cannabis is going to be just the same, if not more stringent.
Yep, agreed.
It's more pungent.
It's a hot topic, isn't it? Everybody has their own little opinion on it all. But yeah, I think if this start to see some normalization in this industry, that's what's required. But it was cool to go to Planet 13 last year at MJ Biz and check out their cannabis lounge. Something we should actually think about doing. I know we spoke to Larry and it was towards the back of the room, not actually in the actual lounge, to do like they have this podcast row. But I think that would be cool to actually film something in there so people can get a better idea visually as to what some of these lounges look like. But the Planet 13 crew and Larry, they have quite the innovative background. And I think they were on the works of, I think it was a first alcohol / cannabis burlesque nightclub that was next to the dispensary. I think the last time we were there. So
yeah, they're going for something for that vibe.
Vegas, baby, right?
Cannabis was never illegal. Laws made it that way. Yeah, laws make things illegal. That's how they work. Things are legal until they're not.
Just Chad, thanks. Good point. There's enough smokeless products that this shouldn't be an issue.
People like smoking weed, though. I mean, people prefer to consume it like that. I mean, you can't slight them for that. And the number one product is smokable flower.
Yeah. Joe, any word from CUSA management coming on the show? Well, you'd asked on Monday, still no update, but just be patient with us because it's not like we're not trying.
Oh, that's a good data point by Joe. They did add another member that came from Kiva. Kiva is a private company in the States that would actually be pretty complementary to Wana. That might be, I mean, I have no info into any of that, but the writing might be on the wall there. Kiva's a great company.
Yeah. CUSA looked like they got a good hire. Okay. Yeah, I see that. Irish. Anybody ever used to put the dryer sheets in the paper towel roll?
I've seen that many times.
Yeah. I could probably share a few stories back when I was in high school, but goes to show how much time's changed in the way you consumed it. But anyways, let's just say there was a stove and some hot knives. We'll leave it at that. Hash? You ever do the hot knives?
Oh, I have never, no, but I was thinking something else.
No. All right, let's move on to number 2, which is the Missouri ballot, where activists, they're preparing a ballot initiative for 2026 that would unify marijuana and hemp regulations. I like this. Right now, Missouri, as we know, is one of the most successful adult use programs in the country. The sales began back in 2023. Tax revenues have already blown past projections, which we've seen. But the way the law was written, marijuana is tightly controlled under state licensing, while hemp-derived products like Delta 8 are sold much more loosely. And this comes as no surprise based on the way the framework of the Farm Bill was created back in 2018. But there's no testing, there's no oversight. So when I see this and we look at this ballot, this is welcoming news. Do you think this is a trend we're going to continue to see more and more in certain states?
As much as I do like what's going on in Missouri, it's not going to be a trend that you're going to see moving forward.
Why is that?
Because what they're doing in Missouri is, instead of bifurcating these industries with hemp and marijuana, they're potentially unifying them. So they're creating an even playing field. You're going to have hemp products, you're going to have marijuana products. They're all going to be regulated. They're all going to be taxed. They're all going to be tested. They're also going to allow for unlimited licensing structure in the state of Missouri. They're literally creating a free market in the state of Missouri. Do I think that that's what this should look like on a go-forward basis if we really want everything to work moving forward? Yeah, absolutely. Would that be good for a lot of the publicly traded cannabis companies as it stands right now? No. A lot of these states are walled gardens. A lot of these states have limited licensing. A lot of these states are looking to reel in and ban hemp or greatly curtail hemp versus bring it onto the level playing field and regulate both the same way. I think down the road, we're going to have a collision course with what's going on in Missouri.
Yeah.
that you're going to have to just level the playing field, let the free market decide, and whoever wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, we all know about like unlimited licensed states, Michigan being one top place for a lot of publicly traded companies, as we saw that earlier this summer when Terracin decided to back away from Michigan. But man, it produces a lot of revenue for that state, but that is one place it's very, very difficult to do business, especially when it comes to margins because of the way the price compression has gone down so much.
It is, but I mean, that stirs innovation, spurs innovation, that spurs great operators. And I mean, there are people in Michigan there are people in Michigan that are making a lot of money, despite the market conditions. There are a lot of people in California and Colorado and Washington and Oregon that are making a lot of money. There's not a lot of them, but there are some. The people that have dialed in operations, dialed in cogs, they know what the hell they're doing, and they can compete in a free market. That's really what this should be, versus the limited licensing model. That's a lot of bureaucracy, that served a lot of us well as investors in these companies. But to be completely honest, like, it's anti-competitive for to an extent.
I'll never forget when I was at that event last fall in Michigan, they were saying the average dispensary in Michigan has around 500 SKUs in one dispensary. Like, does that not seem excessive? I have no idea what the average would be, but how does a bud tender, even, especially with somebody new, even keep up with 50 to 100, let alone 500?
So if you think about the actual retail merchandising for cannabis, like 500 SKUs isn't that much when you're talking flower, concentrates, edibles, pre-rolls, tinctures, salves, different kinds of vapes. 500 SKUs you could probably get run up pretty easily. Actually very easily. Think about it. If you've got 25 strains, which I'm just going to use Sunburn for example. Sunburn, a lot of the time they probably have, let's say, just 25 strains on hand. If you've got 25 strains in flower, then you've got 25 strains, let's say, in vape, and then concentrate. You haven't even gotten edibles yet, or any of those other diversified products. I mean, you get 500 SKUs pretty quickly for a big dispensary as well. And they're carrying CBD products as well.
Well, and you go to some of these party stores for alcohol, you got to think, what do they have?
Way more than
$6 million of revenue just in product in the one store alone. So yeah, you're probably right. Good point.
There's way more than 500 SKUs in your average liquor store.
Yeah. Consumer safety is clearly at the forefront of this initiative. When I look at this, something that many elected officials keep talking about in other states, right?
I really do believe that the only way you're ever really going to reel in hemp is with what Missouri's doing. Create an even playing field, force them into regulation, force them into a tested market, bring them in under the state regulated model, and just let the free market decide. Because I don't think you can regulate. They're never gonna enforce a hemp ban truly in Texas. That's never gonna happen. You're talking about billions and billions of dollars of product, thousands of smoke shops. They're never going to be able to just shut that off.
That's why it's so important to get this right off the bat, because the last thing that a lot of these companies, even in Texas, want to do is change, and that's kind of the mess that we're in right now. Michael,
if they did in Texas what they're doing in Missouri, and if you took the hemp industry and you took the teacup program, and you put it under the rules and regs that they're proposing there, you would have a legitimate industry that's that's tested, regulated, seed to sale tracked, paying taxes, oversight by the government, and you'd clean it up. Because half the people that are operating in the hemp industry in Texas probably couldn't operate in a regulated market if given the chance. But the thing is, you got to give them the chance.
Yeah. Protecting licensed operators from unregulated competition is another factor, I would say, in this actual initiative. But a lot of moving pieces here. But like you said, it's a good model that Missouri has built from the framework up. Another state that you're keeping an eye on too, I'm not up to speed as much, but is North Carolina. You've talked about a little bit past too as to what they're slowly but surely building, and how you think in due time this could be the model that it's North Carolina you'd mentioned before, correct? As far as their cannabis program.
You caught me for a curveball.
Did I? No worries.
Yeah.
I'll scratch that. I think that was maybe Guap that brought it up, but it's all good. Okay, another piece of the story is taxes. The Missouri Supreme Court recently struck down the idea that both a city and a county could each stack their 3% cannabis tax on top of the state tax. So that really means less revenue than some municipalities expected. At the same time, the state has already collected over $240 million in cannabis tax money, way above early projections. So with that, I guess, do you think this ballot measure is partly about tax policy or more about predictable and giving lawmakers, I guess, flexibility to adjust rates?
It could be. It needs to be. I mean, taxation on cannabis needs to be flexible. Just look at what we're dealing with in Canada with the excise tax. I mean, the excise tax was put on the inception. It
Yep.
makes absolutely zero sense now. The taxation in California is just completely onerous. I mean, don't get me wrong. Cannabis should be taxed, especially at the adult use level.
Yep.
But it can't be taxed in such an onerous nature that it doesn't make sense to the operators and it doesn't make sense to the consumers, because then you're never going to get the price that actually brings that buyer out of the illicit market and gets them to buying regulated product.
Which we see in California.
Which we've seen in California, which could be the chance or could be the case here. Like, overtaxing cannabis doesn't work. There needs to be an equilibrium that's found that's beneficial to both, and just go on your way. But getting fancy with it's never going to suit either party.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's now move to, as I said off the top, Governor Shapiro is actually doubling down as we move to Pennsylvania. He made it clear he's holding the line on adult use legalization despite resistance from GOP leadership. PA's been circling this for years, but now the pressure is building from multiple angles, polling, revenue, and the budget fight, as we know, with numerous conversations with Michael Braunstein in Harrisburg. So we've seen a lot of consistent numbers. There's 2/3 of Pennsylvanians now support adult use. There's even Republicans supporting. It's above 50%. So we have something here as what we've indicated. What do you think this states with him doubling down and where this actually sits right now? Because again, it seems like common sense to get this passed. They need the tax revenue, but there just seems like there's more to the story, which is something that we continue to see and have heard from Pennsylvania for years, really.
So I mean, honestly, I'm getting a little bit frustrated with the PA stuff.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because, to be honest, as we all know, and everybody knows that's watching this, if they've been watching, if this was Josh Shapiro's decision, this would be done by now.
I know.
It's the Pennsylvania Republicans, and it's the Pennsylvania politicians that can't come to the table and get this done. I don't know if rescheduling changes that and changes some of the minds of Republicans in the PA legislature, but Josh Shapiro can sit here and just, with a megaphone, just keep projecting that he's not going to stop. He's not going to stop. This needs to get done. They don't care on the Republican side of the aisle in Pennsylvania. It seems like we're at an impasse. I mean, obviously, Michael Braunstein has a lot more insight on this. Trent's going to be coming on from Dutchie on Friday. Yeah, he might have some more insight on this. But the the Virginia Senate President pro tem who is a Democrat, so she'll be aligning with the incumbent governor, potentially with Abby Spanberger, literally said today that the state of Virginia should legalize and tax recreational marijuana sales to offset the Trump administration's cuts to federal funding via the big, beautiful bill. She is saying that her state needs to implement exactly what Pennsylvania needs to implement, but they are failing to do so. So it's good to see at least VA is getting the shit together, because of their Senate President pro tem is already on the same page as the incoming potential governor. It would be good. It'd be fantastic for VA to flip, go to rec. And to be honest, most of the companies that are waiting on PA, they're in Virginia as well.
Yeah.
It would be a catalyst for them. But I mean, Pennsylvania just looks like it's just spinning and spinning and spinning. And like I said, I mean, Josh Shapiro, it doesn't really matter what he says moving forward, because he said all this.
Well, what are we, 14 months away from the midterms? So I think this is more about political leveraging heading into 2026 than it is about policy. And that's politics. I don't want to say at its finest, but that's politics 101 right now. And we've seen this time and time again, where something that seems like common sense on paper just isn't in PA. So that's the frustrating part, because I think if it were to pass, PA is what, the 5th largest populated state in the US, making it probably what, top 3-4 adult use program, I think, in America, would it not?
Could be. It's got a very large medical program, same as Florida, so that impact isn't really going to be as meteoric flipping to adult use. Obviously, it's also surrounded by adult use markets at this point because they haven't got their shit together. But it'll be a very significant market for the United States. I mean, Philadelphia's got a large population. Philadelphia. Pennsylvania's got a very large population. Pennsylvania is going to be a big market. And I think you're right in your assumption. From an adult use perspective, It should be a top 5 market in the United States if and when it flips. But
I know
we seem to just keep running in circles.
Yep. When we look at the money side, we've seen estimates anywhere from $400 to $700 million a year in tax revenue. Governor Shapiro's budget has already penciled in over $500 million over the next couple of years. And I was actually going back to the interview that we did with Senator Street a couple of weeks ago, where he told us that much of this would be earmarked for mass transit and education. So when you look at these numbers in a state that's always fighting over the budget, I don't know, just the financial pressure becomes too big to ignore, in my opinion. But sometimes things just don't make sense in politics.
They've got that rainy day fund. And, nice. Agrify is changing their name.
To what?
To Rhythm. Oh, Ben's going to put GTI in this thing. We'll get to this in a moment. But so the budget, they have that rainy day fund that they can keep drawing from. If it's one thing that I've seen, politicians don't really care about the people at the end of the day. If they've got the money there, they're going to continue to just suck it out of there and suck it dry until that's done. This is a pretty big.
Where are you seeing that?
I'm just Ben Kovler just posted the press release. Agrify Corporation to change its name to Rhythm Inc. following brand portfolio acquisition. Acquires the brand portfolio, including Rhythm, Dog Walkers, and Bebo from Green Thumb Industries. Enters in a licensing agreement permitting Green Thumb to manufacture and distribute brands. Under the new name, Rhythm Inc. will assume the NASDAQ ticker symbol RYM starting September 2nd, 2025.
Wow. Tuesday. I like the name.
Rhythm Inc. Yeah, it's way better than Agrify. He needed to change that.
Something that we've always been speculating on with regards to that acquisition, and now the pieces become a little bit more clearer and put together based on this announcement. But smart move.
They Agrify acquired the brands from GTI via a $50 million convertible note.
Okay.
Which then the company immediately entered into agreement to license the brands back to GTI to manufacture and distribute.
Agrify has two good commercial hash companies, Pure Pressure and Michigan-based solvent extractions, writes Dirty the Grower. Thank you for the feedback. I think that's pretty much it for today. I know this is a quick show. We're at 33-minute mark. Anybody have any questions? How's everybody feeling this week? And what's everybody's optimism as far as heading into next week as we head into September and what the state of the industry's in? I know a lot of people are leaning in close to see if there's going to be any kind of announcement, but let us know what you think right now. Why is CGC holding a vote for reverse split? It's a good question.
I can't speak for them. We'll have to ask one of the guys next time they're on.
Oilers 48. We'll get on that. Speaking of Oilers.
By the way, it looks like Connor McDavid is not happy in Edmonton. He is very, very undecided on wanting to sign an extension with the team.
That's probably the wife talking a lot. There's probably some better places to live. Don't get me wrong.
South Florida looks great this time of year for Connor.
Never been to Edmonton. I'm sure it's a nice city, but yeah, I don't know if South Florida would be the. Who knows? I'm not counting anything out right now.
We'll trade some pieces and some draft picks, and we've got room next year with the cap going up.
NHL's got a thing they got to address, but every free agent wants to sign with either Florida or Vegas.
I'd be completely fine with Connor McJesus coming down here.
I'm sure. Who did Edmonton Oilers 48? You're a fan. Who did the Oilers sign in the offseason from Tampa Bay? He was a big pickup. And I think that was one of the stipulations on whether McDavid signs a long-term contract is to say, are we going to keep these draft picks or actually start making a move like Florida did to win a couple Stanley Cups? I lived in Edmonton. It's the largest green space in North America for a city. Sorry, I missed that. Can you bring that back up, Barnes? Oh, there it is. I lived in Edmonton. It was the largest green space in North America for a city. But other than that, okay, I won't repeat that. I feel bad for some of the Edmonton people if they're watching here in the show. AV, if cannabis is being rescheduled on Friday, scratch your nose. We'll stay away from that one.
That's one of the comments you probably should have just ignored.
Shad Anthony, do you think prohibitionist holdouts like Dan Patrick will change their stance on cannabis once Trump makes a rescheduling announcement? No, I don't. Not Dan Patrick. As he said in a press conference a couple months ago, his take was, this is how I do it.
No.
And if it means I don't get reelected, so be it.
Dan Patrick will die a prohibitionist.
Yeah.
Dan Patrick is not coming around at all.
Yeah. Emilio, we did email Matt Gaetz, and I'll tell you right now, there's been no response. But we'll.
Oh yeah, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's been positive about.
He has.
Yeah, Joe Rogan just keeps mentioning rescheduling, and there's no way Trump is not paying attention to that.
Yeah. Rose overdose joke. I saw Timu Solani play his rookie year in Winnipeg as a kid, and it was one of my favorite memories, I guess. He had 76 goals in his rookie year. It's pretty impressive. So we got Trent Wolovec from Jushi coming back on this Friday to talk about anything and everything related to PA. So anything you want to tee up for that?
They filed a lawsuit in the state of Virginia, in the state of Pennsylvania, against the hemp operators there. I need to read through the lawsuit to be prepared for that conversation on Friday, but we'll be going through that, and then Trent's take on the PA adult use language moving forward.
Yeah. As usual, as I said before, everybody, coming up 2 weeks from today, Senator Rand Paul will be coming on with us to talk about everything with regards to hemp, the views that he has versus the views, say, that Senator Mitch McConnell wants to increase the overall THC threshold to 1% up from 0.3%. So a lot of interesting conversations and questions that we'll have with him. But yeah, it's going to be great. One of the best guests that we've had on since we launched this live stream. So that's the key. That's the goal, that once we get hopefully rescheduling announced, that the next steps will be just to bring on more and more names. And believe us, we are in a lot of contacts with people as to, like, if and when there is an announcement, who are some of those guests that could come on. But rest assured, we are growing, and will grow substantially once we enter into that new phase. So one can only hope that we get what we want, and it happens relatively soon. So fingers crossed. But I think that's it for a wrap today. That is a wrap for today.
Let's see how Friday runs around.
Stay patient, people. We'll let you know when we do get an announcement. Just click on that bell for all notifications.
We might not get an announcement.
I'm just saying, if we do get an announcement, we will be going live that day. So,
unless it's next Friday, because I will be on the golf course.
I'll bring the production crew down on the 6th green, and we'll broadcast from there. I think your buddies will like that. We'll put the GoPros on the golf cart.
No. No one wants to see a bunch of mid-30-year-old dudes playing golf.
I wish I could say that. By the way, it was my birthday this past weekend, and believe it or not,
it was. You know how I found out? Because your wife posted on Instagram. I had no idea.
I love the note. Happy birthday, Senor Shad, and by Senor, I don't mean senior.
That literally came to me in the moment when I was typing it. So,
and you were laughing when you were typing that.
I was laughing, yeah.
It's surreal. Like, 1 minute I'm going down my buddies in college to Daytona Beach for spring break, and now I'm 49 years old. Where does time go?
Oh, I thought it was 48.
Yeah. Irish, happy belated Chad. See, we always get a Chad. It's Shad, but thank you, Irish. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. Happy 27th birthday. Thank you, Christopher. But I hope to turn 27. Next stop is I want to head to Turkey and get a little hair transplant. You guys think that's a smart move? Hope we can get them on as a sponsor. But I miss having some good hair.
That would be a good read-in.
That would be. Shad pushing 50. Don't bring that up, David, but that is the reality. I can't believe it. Gen X rules. American History X. Ed Norton. That was a hell of a movie. All right, that's it. I'm rambling, but we're back here Friday, 11 a.m. with Trent Wolovec to talk about their lawsuit pertaining to what's
no,
involved.
Motier, you are not right. About half that.
Yeah. Okay. And you're on the right side of the grass, Shad. Yeah, I hear you. Happy birthday, baby boy. I'm 71 years old. Good to see you, Mark Little Sr. Listen, I can start rambling off all these comments. Appreciate everybody. But make sure you log on back here Friday at 11 a.m. and make sure you stay connected with us here at the Trade of Black podcast. Like I said, if we get an announcement, we will be going live like probably within the hour or 2 hours. So hopefully we get something. But most importantly, make sure to log back on here 11 a.m. Friday a.m. Anthony will be here with Trent Wolovec to talk about their lawsuit and the state of PA and what that could potentially be. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We'll see you back here Friday 11. Thanks, everyone.
See you, everybody.
So, what'd you think of all that information? Some interesting stuff that we just learned once again here at the TDR Trade of Black podcast. Let's keep the conversation going. So leave your comments below. We'd love to get your feedback. As usual, if you have time, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash on that bell for all notifications. And stay connected with us here at the Trade to Black podcast. Thanks for watching, everyone.